Welcome to Movie Recap, a channel dedicated to those addicted to movies. Our focus is to showcase the best recap of your favorite flick. Sit back, grab your popcorn, and get ready to be amazed by the Perfume movie recap. A man named Jean-Baptiste Grenouille is in a cell in the 18th century, awaiting his sentence. As a lord reads the sentence, crowds of angry people yell and demand justice, and a group of guards arrive to drag him out. In 2 days, Jean will be chained to a cross and beaten with an iron rod before being hung to death. Spoiler ahead, watch out. It all began in Paris a few years back. A woman attending to her stall in a stinking market begins to have pains. The baby is born there and falls to the ground. She pushes him into the leftover fish guts before heading to work, since she believes this baby is dead too, as all of her earlier births were stillbirths. When Jean, the newborn, breathes for the first time, he detects all the horrible smells that come from the market. Upon hearing Jean cry for the first time, everyone in the market believes that his mother is attempting to kill him. The mother is caught and killed by the crowd. Jean is then taken to Madame Gaillard's orphanage, where there are already so many children living there. The kids get irritated with the infant when he's left in one of these several piles. The kids had decided to kill Jean with a pillow. Then, Madame Gaillard intervenes to save him and spanks the kids for their disobedience. Years go by, and Jean is still mute at age 5. Jean spends his time alone, as other youngsters believe he's crazy and avoid him. It turns out that he has an exceptionally strong sense of smell, which enables him to detect any smell. He occasionally even smells like dead animals. Jean eventually picks up the ability to communicate by just using his closed eyes to identify what is around him. When Jean reaches 13, Madame Gaillard sells him to tannery owner Grimal. Gaillard receives some cash, and Jean takes on the role of trainee. Jean works hard every day. He hopes to visit the city someday to try new fragrances. Grimal eventually brings him into the city to make a delivery. Jean follows his nose to a shop that has a very lovely scent, while Grimal gets busy delivering the delivery. As Jean examines the creator, he discovers that combining smells can create new ones. Jean smells the most appealing aroma he has ever smelled and is immediately drawn to it. When he chases after it, he finds that its origin is a woman who is selling plums. When she tries to offer him some plums, Jean reacts by putting his nose in her hand, which makes her run away. Refusing to give up, Jean follows her scent and eventually locates the woman sitting at a table. The woman raises her mouth to scream, but Jean hears something, stops her just in time, and pulls her into the darkness. When a couple passes by, Jean waits for them to go so he can release the woman, only to realize that he has unintentionally killed her by suffocation. Grimal gives him a hard time that evening for sneaking off. While all is going on, Giuseppe is unemployed. He was formerly the greatest perfumer in the whole country, but customers are no longer coming to him. In a desperate attempt to turn his company around, Giuseppe seeks to discover the secret to a stronger psyche, but no matter how strongly he smells it, he is unable to figure it out. Giuseppe accepts Jean's delivery one evening and lets him into his lab to drop off the order. Then, Jean starts combining the components without thinking twice, ignoring Giuseppe's warns about not utilizing the proper methods. Giuseppe is shocked to see what he has recreated. After smelling Jean's second perfume as well, Giuseppe purchases Jean from Grimal the following day. In the meantime, Jean begins working as Giuseppe's trainee, picking up all the skills necessary to create a range of amazing perfumes that promote Giuseppe's store. He searches for the secret to creating the ideal perfume. Jean requests Giuseppe to impart to him the art of preserving any smell. The following day, Giuseppe shows Jean how to boil 10,000 roses at the proper temperature until the oil condenses and falls into a little flask in order to extract the essence of the flowers. Giuseppe wakes up in the morning to loud noises coming from his lap. Giuseppe finds it unbelievable that Jean has been attempting to detect the smell of metals, and even placed his cat inside to try to smell it. Jean collapses as Giuseppe screams at him, telling him that he is incapable of distilling the aroma of a live being. Giuseppe informs Jean about inflourish, a process unique to the city of Grasse. Giuseppe is happy when Jean leaves and goes to bed, but all of a sudden his house collapses and he is killed. Jean's mood significantly improves because of the clear air when he finally gets to see the countryside on his journey to the Grasse. To maintain clear breathing, Jean chooses to walk into the mountains rather than take the shorter routes through different towns. He eventually makes his way to the summit of a mountain, where he hides inside a cave for the first time. Jean eventually resumes his journey, and just as he's going to arrive at the Grasse, he smells something wonderful, even more appealing than the plum woman's. Suddenly, a carriage drives by, and he recognizes the perfume is from Laura. Jean, filled with excitement, rushes over the lawn, following his nose all the way to an opulent mansion. From there, he enters the garden and observes Laura from a distance. The following day, Jean begins working at a perfume boutique where Drouot trains him in the art of flowering. To extract the essence of the flowers, they are boiled in a big container after being pressed into animal fat. Jean murders a female. Jean hopes to smell the girl's fat when she ends up inside the container a few moments later. Jean has to cover the container before the body is discovered in the morning when a woman drops by with flowers. Jean pretends he covered the container to shield the flowers from the light. Ultimately, this method fails to extract the girl's smell, so Jean has to come up with an alternative. He employs a street worker in the evening, and she comes with her dog, He starts to smother her in animal fat. The woman freaks out and ends the transaction as he pulls out a blade to scrape off the fat. Jean then kills her. A few hours later, Jean removes the fat and subjects it to an intricate procedure that ultimately releases the aroma of a living person. The following morning, Jean puts a small amount of the perfume on his palm to test it out while the locals discover the abandoned body. Thinking it has smelled its owner, the woman's dog quickly comes to him. Satisfied with his appearance, Jean places this aroma in the first bottle out of 13. Later on, Jean enters Laura's birthday celebration covertly in order to spy on her. She chooses to play hide-and-seek in the garden maze with her pals. In the meantime, Jean is subjecting 2 girls to the process in order to extract their smells, which he then adds to his collection. In the river, the 2 girls' remains are discovered the following day. Jean keeps kidnapping and murdering unharmed girls for a few days in order to collect their odors, leaving the remains behind. The council eventually agrees to implement a curfew and sends guards to protect the streets, but Jean is unaffected and continues to kill. Fear and suspicion take over the town's residents, and they begin blocking their homes and turning on anyone who seems odd. After Jean murders a nun, his 12th victim, the bishop comes together at a mass to declare the murderer a demon who will be punished. A man bursts into the ceremony to announce that the killer has been apprehended. The council only wants to conclude this case, and the man is executed. The confession was taken under torture, and the details don't match the actual killings. Laura is the last person he wants to touch. That evening, Jean enters the mansion covertly and goes up to Laura as she is sleeping. Richie wakes up abruptly and runs to Laura's bedroom, where she is alone but okay. But Richie sees that the window is open. To keep Laura safe, Richie packs up and leaves with her first thing the following morning. But Jean's nose picks up on the fact that Laura's fragrance is fading right away, so he packs up his belongings and starts tracking her scent to find it. When the street worker's dog returns to town, he smells around and discovers its owner's clothes hidden in the ground. Laura is given a windowless room by Richie, who then shuts her up for the evening. In order to finally reach Laura, Jean follows her scent, discovers the entrance, slips into the servant's room, and takes the key from Richie's nightstand. Laura opens her eyes and looks at him just as he is ready to kill her, which causes him to pause. When Richie checks on his daughter the following morning, he is shocked to learn that she has passed away. In the meantime, Jean completes the extraction of Laura's essence and combines it with the other 12 to produce the ultimate fragrance. He gets caught and surrounded by soldiers before he can properly sniff it, but he manages to hide the perfume in his pocket. When Richie waterboards Jean to get him to explain why he killed Laura, Jean simply responds, "I needed her." Shortly after, a carriage pulls up to the town square, and Jean steps out donning the Lord's attire, along with a few whiffs of his wonderful scent. Those around him are astounded by his sheer existence and drop to their knees as soon as they smell him. As he throws his handkerchief away, the whole town falls in love. Jean, meanwhile, goes back to his foul-smelling place of origin. Jean stops in the middle of the street and spills the entire bottle of perfume on his head, realizing that life is meaningless without love. Jean's clothes and a single drop of perfume are all that remain of him when he wakes up. We really hope you enjoyed today's recap of the movie Perfume. Please leave a comment below on what you loved about the movie and why. Be sure to like the video and please don't forget to support our channel by subscribing so you don't miss any amazing content. Until next time, light, camera, action. We look forward to seeing you in our next video.